Hi, everybody. Today is day 3 of my remembrance of the BBC show program. They called it a documentary, but it was really a reality TV show. And I am excited today to pull out my trusty journal from 2009, 10 years ago, and to look through what happened on day 3, 10 years ago when the BBC was at our home filming the World's Strictest Parents episode with James and Hannah, who we just love. Anyway, part of the Peck family schedule, I guess, was that a few days of the week I actually taught water aerobics. And so on the Wednesday, that was one of my water aerobics teaching days, and we just carried on with things as normal. In fact, I wasn't sure maybe if one of them or both of them would end up coming to the pool with me. I remember I had to get permission just in case everyone was going to come to the pool and let people know we might have a camera crew here filming water aerobics. Are you okay with that? And it's just kind of up in the air, kind of iffy. And anyway, in the end, the camera crew did not want to get up at 5 a.m. and go over to the city pool and be part of the water aerobics class, so they nixed that idea. Anyway, so while I was gone at water aerobics, Spencer did what he always did at that time, and so he woke everybody up and he got them going on their morning chores. And so by the time I came home, all the chores were done and everybody was ready for something we call canon. So now we had had canon with James and Hannah the days prior, so this wasn't a new thing for them. But this time on our canon time, canon is what we call our devotional time. So this is the time where we compare everything in our day to who we are as a family, who we are for God, and which direction we're going, how we can better prepare to serve and love our community, stuff like that. So anyway, today, as we were on this day 10 years ago, as we were getting ready for canon, James came up to me and he said, "Nicholeen, can I say the family prayer today? Because we say a family prayer every morning and every night." And so he was used to this now after a couple of days of being invited to pray with the family. And I said, sure. I was actually really taken back that he had asked if he could say the family prayer. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he said, okay, but I don't know how to pray. I've never done that before, so could you tell me how to pray? All the more impressed I was at James's bravery to attempt to say a prayer when he had not said one before. And so I taught him a simple structure for how to say a prayer, and then we had him say the family prayer, and it was a beautiful prayer. He thanked God for his blessings, and then he asked very specifically in the family prayer, and we were all there praying with him, that he would not have the craving to smoke that day. He wanted help conquering his addiction to smoke. He knew it was troubling him because we didn't smoke at our house and he was not getting many opportunities to have a smoke. And so he was noticing that he was in bondage to this. I could cry right now just thinking about it, because it was, to me, one of the most precious moments that happened in that whole filming, because I saw this young man go from having an attitude problem and running away because of his cigarettes to within 2 days' time saying, I want to go to the Lord because I need extra help. And I didn't know what he was going to pray for. And so we knelt down as a family and he prayed. And it was beautiful. I wrote in my journal, wow, I was so impressed at his great faith, his budding faith that he had, which was so beautiful. So anyway, then after we had our morning prayer and our breakfast, then it was time to go to the ranch. So James and Hannah still had loss of privileges, which meant that they still needed to be doing work. But the camera crew was adamant that we did not have any more work time at our house for that day because we needed to have a change in scenery. So for that day, we arranged for them to go to the ranch. We have a good friend who owned a ranch, and it was and we had other friends that were youth that worked regularly at this ranch, and so we thought that would be a good opportunity for them to be able to go and do some work at the ranch. So anyway, in the car ride there, they were super excited about being able to go to a ranch because neither one of them had ever been to a ranch before. And so they were talking about possibly what to expect. And I remember they were a little bit worried about, you know, what they might find. Is it going to be gross? Is there going to be horse poo, you know, and stuff like that? And they were worried about that. But one thing that also was pretty incredible is as we were driving there and talking in the car, both of them started talking about our family just right in front of me. And they said, this family is like perfect. I didn't think this was a real thing. I thought that this kind of stuff was only on TV. I didn't know people really were like this. And so they were starting to get this picture, this vision of maybe something that was possible that they hadn't experienced in their own lives. And so it was just so beautiful. I really enjoyed hearing what their thoughts were on our family and on how inspiring it was to them. So anyway, at the ranch, they worked with Aaron and Cash, who are some of our friends who are in our homeschool community, and they threw hay to the horses and shoveled manure. So yes, they found that horse poo that was there, and even though it was kind of gross work a little bit, they bucked up to the challenge and they tried their best. Now, I think probably Cash and Aaron did the lion's share of the work because I don't think James and Hannah were really used to that kind of labor, but they tried their best and it seemed like that they enjoyed themselves really for the most part. And I think Hannah thought that Cash was actually kind of cute, which was a fun thing. He was younger than she was, but even so, I think she thought that he was kind of had a fun personality maybe and was kind of a fun guy. He was a cowboy, right? And so that's sort of fun to be a cowboy. So anyway, while James and Hannah were gone, we were doing work with London and Porter and Quinn and Paige and just doing things at home. Kind of had a minute to ourselves that was just us because all the camera crew left to go out to the ranch. And so that was sort of nice to get things maybe cleaned up just a little bit, to have some family time where I could read to the children, just us, and stuff that was a little bit more like normal. And as we were reading and talking and doing things as a family, and I believe Spencer would have been home that day. Yeah, I think he was home. His work was really slow that week, which meant he didn't have to work as often as usual. Anyway, and I remember talking about music, and one of the children, and I'm not sure who, came up with this idea that we should do a music program for James and Hannah. And so they started putting together this program where they would sing songs, and all of the children sing, and they weren't afraid to sing in front of other people, and so they decided to go ahead and do that. And they sang multiple songs, and James and Hannah really liked it. In fact, They were so complimentary and so kind with all of the singing. And Spencer, at the end of the whole program, he asked Quinn and Paige if they could sing their duet again of Homeward Bound. And as they started singing it, Spencer started crying. And Hannah and James started crying. And he said, I want you to listen to this song. He said, I want you to hear what's in it. And he basically said, let me look at my notes here. He said, listen really closely to the words, because I think he was feeling like the words of Homeward Bound for James and Hannah, that they would leave here and that he would hope. I'll get choked up. My husband's a softie. I guess I'm a little bit of a softie too. I guess this is cry day, because we did cry on this day on the program. But he wanted them to leave with a picture of a family and of a good experience. He wanted it to be something that they could take with them forever. And anyway, and so they all sat and bawled and blubbered and talked about it, and they were starting to have these big changes in their lives, and this change was called a change of heart. There was a spiritual transformation that was happening, and they were thinking about it. And I could see them going, you know what? I want this. I want to be part of a group who is like this. And we loved having them with us. In fact, it was starting to get really, really fun at this point. The tantrums seemed to be over, which don't bother me anyway, but they were noticeably enjoying their time together. So then that night, the boys were all going to go to the Beehive Statesman chorus rehearsal night. So every Wednesday night, Spencer and Quinn went to sing with their barbershop chorus, and they decided they were going to take James because we were just incorporating them into our regular life. Now, I think this is probably something that a lot of parents don't do, but in our family, when our children turn about 11 years old, we're always spending time with them, but on purpose, my husband says, okay, what can I do more with my sons when they turn about 11 years old and on up, and gives them maybe one night a week or a certain amount of time where they do things together. And then I think the same thing with my daughters, because they need to be mentored in what it means to be a woman, and they need to be around other women, not just girls their age. They need to learn social from a proper source. And so anyway, they went to the Beehive Statesman, and James was really nervous because he's like, I don't sing, and I am not going to be able to do this. And he really felt like this was stepping really far out of his comfort zone. And but he said he'd do it anyway, and he went with a little apprehension, and Hannah stayed home with me, and we made jam, and we made banana muffins, lots of banana muffins, and she was super proud of herself. Anyway, but while they were there at the Beehive Statesman, James was invited by the head of the group to come up in a quartet and to sing with a quartet. Now, I got to tell you, that is nerve-wracking. I have sung with a cappella quartets before, and that is a hard thing to do, especially if you're not a singer and you have never done it before. But he did it. And he even spoke in front of the group. They were so good to him. Those men, and I knew they would do this, but those men mentored him without any prompting from anyone, because that's just who they were. That's the kind of men that those barbershop men are, and that they had been to my son. They had nurtured him and shown him what it meant to be a real man, a caring man, but a strong man. and a man who perfected something. In this case, it was their art of barbershop. And James felt comfortable enough and loved enough that he did that in front of the group. And when I heard about that, I was so amazed at what he had done. So meanwhile, back at home, I'm making muffins and jam with Hannah, which is something she's never done before. And we start talking. And she said that at home, she gets her way if she yells, or somebody at least yells back to her. That at our house that didn't work because I was just too calm. And so nobody was getting angry or yelling at her, and so she just chose to be calm too. That's a huge lesson from this 17-year-old girl. I wrote in the side of my notes, get this footage. I really wanted to have a copy of that footage. I hoped so much that they would put it in the program because it was so powerful to hear her explain to the world, it would have been the world if everyone had seen that footage, the power of being a calm parent, being calm and being principled, which is what we are in our family. And she saw firsthand that that was more powerful than any yelling that had been done at her in the past. So anyway, I asked about Tanisha, about her daughter, and we talked about what type of a parent that she would be for her daughter. And little Tanisha is so cute. And Hannah really expressed how she wanted to be a good mom. How that was something that, was kind of in her heart, that she didn't really know how, but that she wanted to. I mean, she was young. She was only 17 years old, so that was hard for her. But we had a beautiful bonding moment. The whole day, really, except for when they were at the ranch, was just full of bonding. They were part of what we do every day, cooking and baking and praying and talking as a family and doing things for each other like singing and being part of these amazing groups of people in our area, like this barbershop group that my husband and my son are part of. So, it really was just, the picture perfect day. And there were no problems on day 3. So after 2 days of going completely out of control, between the two of them running away 5 times, by day 3, they accepted their consequence, which was a loss of privileges for 24 hours, and they did accept it. So by the evening, they had earned their privileges, and life was back to normal for them. But they were fine. They had accepted their consequences, no problem whatsoever. And they were on a good track. So I was so excited. I have to tell you, walking down this memory lane, it has been so fun for me to remember what happened during that time 10 years ago, and to remember what really were the key pieces that touched their hearts at those moments, and to see again the change of heart that occurred for them, and to know and to feel how honored I was to be part of that in their lives. I would also like to extend, as part of this celebration, myself for you, to be a support for you as you and your family make the changes that you want to make in your life. So what is it that you want to have? What type of family bonds and connections? What type of communication skills do you want to adopt? Are they similar to the ones that we want? Do you want to be a self-governing family too? Well, if so, we have a great opportunity for you during this celebration week. I would like to offer extreme discounts on some of our most supportive things that we ever offer to families. So first thing, if you want to ask me questions, which you totally can every week, then be on the Teaching Self-Government Support Group, and you can join it right now for a month for $1. $1, and you can be on 4 calls or 5, however many are in the month, however many weeks are in the month, 4 or 5 calls for $1, and you can ask your questions. You can hear me answer other people's questions, and you can have access to all of the archived calls that I've done since 2011. And if you want to stay on those calls after, it is really inexpensive. To be on those calls each month. Many families tell me that those are some of the most important things they do to maintain their course at working on this self-government with themselves and with their children. The other thing is we're taking $100 off the cost of an implementation course. This online course is a very comprehensive online training that you can do at your own pace. So instead of $299, it's only $199. And I'll be sure to put a link somewhere in this when we get this posted permanently. But then finally, we do these online, or not online trainings, but these live trainings with me and oftentimes with my children as well, and some of my teaching self-government mentors. They are 3-day trainings. It is the quickest way to get all of the learning and to get your spouse possibly on the same page with you, to troubleshoot all the things that you're dealing with in your family. The quickest way is to do these parenting mastery trainings. And we have a parenting mastery training that is coming up July 11th, 12th, and 13th. And we would love for you to join us. So the first few people that join that parenting mastery, you will get not only the early bird special, but some additional money off on that. I'll put a link to that as well. It is a profound training, and it's personal. We only allow 20 couples to come to those trainings. So it is a really small number so that we can give you all the personal attention, training, coaching that you need so that you go home with everything ready to just be put right into place. Anyway, I hope that's something that's enjoyable to you. If it is, we've got those specials for you this week as part of our celebration of 10 years since being called the world's strictest parent by the BBC and starring in that program. We'll talk to you again tomorrow with day 4. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.